You know, there are some places on Earth that just feel like they're from another time, maybe even another reality. Hampi is absolutely one of them. It's so much more than a bunch of old ruins. It feels like the ghost of an empire, a city of victory whose story is literally whispered on the wind that weaves through its incredible boulder-filled landscape. Okay, let's dive right into the story of this amazing lost city.
Just try to imagine showing up here in the 15th century, to a city so grand, so unbelievably wealthy that it leaves you completely speechless. I mean, that's how the Persian traveler Abdul Razak felt. At its height, Hampi was the second largest city in the entire world. It was this bustling metropolis where diamonds and gold were sold on the streets, not by the piece, but by the kilo. That quote isn't some poetic exaggeration, it's a first-hand account of a forgotten global superpower.
So, to give you an idea of the sheer scale we're talking about, the ruins of Hampi are spread out over a mind-boggling 4,100 hectares. And inside this enormous, almost surreal landscape, you'll find the skeletons of a whole civilization, more than 1,600 surviving structures. And we're not just talking about a few temples, we're talking entire market streets, royal palaces, massive fortresses, and brilliant aqueducts. Trust me, exploring Hampi isn't a quick day trip. It's like stepping into a whole other world that's been frozen in time. Okay, so to really do this massive place justice, we're going to structure our explainer like a virtual 3-day trip. First, we'll get into its legendary beginnings. Then, on day 1, we'll explore the spiritual heart of the city. Day 2, we'll dive into the seat of royal power. And on day 3, we'll check out its greatest architectural wonders right before we cover its tragic end. After all that, we'll also get into how you can plan your own journey and what makes Hampi's spirit so timeless.
So, long before Hampi was the capital of this powerful empire, this land was already soaked in myth. It's believed to be the ancient site of Kishkinda, the monkey kingdom from the Hindu epic, the Ramayana. This is supposedly where Lord Rama met Hanuman. This deep mythological root meant the place was considered sacred way, way before the first stone of the great city was ever put down.
All right, picture this. It's the 14th century, a really turbulent time in India. The Delhi Sultanate is pushing south, and in response, two brothers, Harihara and Bukka, decide to create a stronghold of Hindu resistance. They found the Vijayanagara Empire, and they picked this spot, naturally fortified by boulders and the Tungabhadra River, for their capital. They named it Vijayanagara, which means the City of Victory, and for more than 200 years, it absolutely lived up to that name.
Okay, our first day starts right where the city itself began, the sacred center. This is the oldest part of Hampi, all clustered along the south bank of the holy Tungabhadra River. It's a place where you can really feel those ancient myths and living worship, all tangled up together among these incredible granite hills.
The absolute, undisputed heart of the sacred center is the Virupaksha temple. Its main tower, the Gopuram, just soars 160 feet into the sky. But here's the truly mind-blowing part. This isn't a ruin. It's a living, breathing temple where worship has gone on non-stop for over 1,400 years. It literally survived the collapse of the empire that built up around it. It's dedicated to Lord Shiva, and if you go, you might even get a blessing from Lakshmi, the beloved temple elephant who lives right there.
Now, just south of the temple, there's a place called Hemakuta Hill. And this is the perfect spot to end our first day. The whole hill is dotted with temples and shrines that are even older than the empire itself. When you climb to the top for sunset, you get this stunning 360-degree view. As the sun dips down, it paints this golden light all over the Valley of Ruins, and that's when it really hits you. You start to grasp the sheer epic scale of what once stood here.
So for our second day, we're shifting gears from the sacred to the secular heart of the empire, the royal center. Think of this as the central nervous system, a fortified area with palaces, audience halls, and all the big ceremonial stuff. This is where the kings of Vijayanagara lived, ruled, and basically showed off the incredible power of their empire.
This timeline really puts the empire's whole dramatic story into perspective. It kicks off in 1336, hits this incredible golden age under King Krishna Devaraya in the early 1500s, and then, just like that, it all comes to a catastrophic end in 1565. The city was destroyed, abandoned, and pretty much lost to the world for over 250 years, until its ruins were rediscovered by a British surveyor named Colin Mackenzie around 1800.
Right at the core of the royal center is the massive Mahanavimi platform. You can think of it as the king's giant VIP box. This tiered stone stage was where he'd sit and watch these enormous festivals, military parades, and sporting events. The walls are just covered in these detailed carvings of elephants, horses, and dancers. I mean, you can practically hear the echoes of all the pomp and pageantry. You know, one of the coolest things about the Royal Center is this beautiful mashup of architectural styles. It really tells a story. On one hand, you see its deep Hindu roots in places like the Hazara Rama Temple, but then you also see how cosmopolitan it was, influenced by the art from neighboring sultanates. That Indo-Islamic style is perfectly captured in the elegant arches of the Lotus Mahal.
Now, inside the Royal Center, there was a private, walled-off section called the Zenana Enclosure. This was the area for the royal women. Inside, you'll find the gorgeous Lotus Mahal, this airy, beautiful pavilion that was probably a kind of pleasure palace for the queen. But then, right nearby, you see the incredible elephant stables. It's this long, grand building with 11 huge domed chambers, one for each royal elephant. It just goes to show you how important these animals were, a true symbol of power and wealth.
All right, on our third and final day, we're visiting the spot that represents the absolute peak of Vijayanagara art and architecture. This is where their craftsmen really outdid themselves. But it's also here, at the site of their greatest creation, that we have to face the story of how it all came crashing down.
Welcome to the Vitala Temple Complex. Look, if the Virupaksha Temple is the spiritual soul of Hampi, then Vitala is its artistic masterpiece. It's the showstopper. Even though the main deity isn't there anymore, the temple itself is just an unbelievable symphony carved in stone. The whole complex is a monument to the insane skill and vision of its builders.
And standing right there in the temple courtyard is probably the most iconic symbol of Hampi, the stone chariot. It's actually a shrine to Garuda, Lord Vishnu's eagle mount, but it's carved from huge blocks of granite to look just like a real chariot. And get this, its stone wheels could actually rotate. This thing is so important to India's culture that if you pull out a 50 rupee note, yep, that's its picture right there. But the real magic, the true genius of the Vitala Temple, might just be hidden inside the main hall. In here, you find 56 of what they call musical pillars. Each one is carved from a single piece of granite, but is designed as a cluster of smaller pillars. And here's the crazy part. When you tap them gently, they produce different musical notes, like you're playing an instrument made of stone. It's an acoustic miracle, and honestly, no one is quite sure how they did it.
And this is where the story takes its tragic, heartbreaking turn. In 1565, a bunch of neighboring sultanates ganged up on Vijayanagara. At the Battle of Talikota, the empire's army was crushed. The winning armies then marched on the capital, which was completely undefended. For 6 long months, the great city of Hampi was looted, burned, and systematically destroyed. They leveled the palaces, desecrated the temples. The devastation was so total that the city was just abandoned forever, left to become the ruins we see today.
But you know, the story of Hampi doesn't really end with its destruction. Today, it inspires absolute awe in travelers from all over the globe. So after our virtual tour, you're probably thinking you need to see this place for yourself. Well, let's talk about how you, a modern-day pilgrim, can actually make that happen.
Okay, logistics. Getting to Hampi is actually pretty simple. The closest major transport points are the airport in Hubli or the train station in Hosapet. Hosapet is really the main gateway town. It's only about 13 kilometers away. From there, it's a short and easy ride. You just hop on a local bus or grab one of the super popular auto rickshaws to get to the main Hampi Bazaar. Now, as you've seen, this place is massive, so here's my single most important piece of advice. Do not rush it. You really need at least 2 to 3 full days, just like the itinerary we followed. You can walk around the main areas, but to see everything, renting a bicycle is a great idea. But honestly, the best option is to hire an auto rickshaw for the day. The drivers are often amazing local guides who know all the best stories and secret spots.
But you know, beyond all the history and the travel tips, there's just a special kind of magic to Hampi. It's a place where the past doesn't feel like it's gone. It feels alive. It's not just in the stones, it's in the whole atmosphere of the place. Today, Hampi is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which is fantastic because it means its legacy is protected. But what makes it truly unforgettable is the landscape itself. The man-made ruins just blend perfectly into this wild, almost alien world of giant granite boulders, green rice paddies, and the winding river. It's this surreal mix of nature and history that creates an atmosphere you just won't find anywhere else on Earth. And that kind of leaves us with one final thought. Hampi isn't a dead city, not at all. Archaeologists are still digging up new secrets, and every single person who visits forms their own connection to its story. The stones of Hampi have seen it all, unimaginable glory and heartbreaking ruin. They hold the stories of kings and artists, of merchants and pilgrims. And as they stand there silent, it just makes you wonder, If they could speak, what new stories are they waiting to tell?